Welcome everyone back to another episode of Market Talk. We have Robert Snyder from Silex Financial, Joe Valente from Tabatchouk Law, and my business partner Jeffrey Kalafut. Welcome everybody.
Hello
Good
there.
morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Okay, so March 2026. Let's talk about the real estate market. Bob, what's going on with the mortgage rates right now?
Just when we saw some relief, we were seeing things kind of dip into the high fives. A little turmoil in the world changes that, and rates have kind of jumped back up into the sixes. And the longer this war goes on, the higher the rates are probably going to end up going.
Hmm.
That's the way I see. So, for many reasons, let's hope it ends quickly.
Agreed. I mean, we did see a dip in January in home sales, but I think that was had to do with a lot of weather related. I mean, we are predicted to there already is an increase in inventory from this time last year, about 100,000 um, homes that are on the market coming on now. Uh there, you know, Jeff, what are you seeing with boots on the ground right now?
It's been interesting, right? I have quite a few people that are looking. We're lining up to sell. I have a listing going on this week in Passaic County, and a lot of the listings I have coming up, unfortunately, are due to family members passing away. Right?
Mm,
I'm dealing with a lot of estates lately, and even some of I have a ton of buyers out there, but the properties just aren't. They're not there. Right? We had like a little surge in the beginning of March, and then when the
mm,
war kind of hit, I think that kind of put a pause on what's going on out there. Still have 7 or 8 listings that I'm going to be putting out there over the next, hopefully month or two, but nobody's really in a rush.
right.
There's a lot of pause in the market. I did just go under contract on a property for a buyer, but again, a very specific type of a 55 and older neighborhood, downsizing type of scenario. One of those lifestyle changes that they're looking for
Hmm.
to get closer to family. So we'll see. We'll see how things go. I feel like things are going to pop up, but I think that the initial surge that I was expecting isn't going to happen as quick just because of what's going on in the world today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think between the weather, the war, and interest rates bumping up a little bit, I definitely think the pause button has been hit a little bit. Um, I'm in Florida right now. The market here is completely different than it is in the Northeast, in regards to inventory. Um, Joe, I just saw a stat the other day that it might not be in the Northeast as much, but in, Florida, Ohio, other markets that have more inventory, the cancellation of contracts is at an all-time high. We're seeing nearly 40,000 agreements nationwide canceled in January alone. Are you seeing that in the Northeast at all?
Yeah, there's definitely been an uptick of that. I don't think that's necessarily new for this last month or two.
Okay.
But yeah, the majority of deals that are entering attorney review or from the offer acceptance stage are definitely being killed at a higher rate.
Hmm.
And I think, that all spells back to the Jeff's comment, like there's people that are interested, but nobody's in a real rush. Um, if you turn back the clock a couple years when the buyers were waiving everything, there was a ton of urgency. It's like,
Hmm.
get out of attorney review before somebody with the higher offer comes in. And it
Hmm.
was the exact opposite of what we're seeing now. There's people that are interested, but not people that are frantic to get into contract. And the more time that goes by in attorney review, the more time the deal has a likelihood to get killed because people talk to people, multiple voices in someone's ear. Are you sure this is the right? And like that, any type of doubt will kill a real estate deal. So when you lose momentum, that's when the deals have a good chance to fall apart, right? So the interesting thing right now is that New York, for whatever reason, is I'm at rates that are back to like extremely busy periods. So the market in the city is always a few weeks, a month ahead of New Jersey. So I'm optimistic that it's coming, but I think a little bit delayed from what I expected from a spring market, to be honest.
Hmm.
And the war could be the weather and the war is probably the two main explanations for that. Also, the school year, I'm trying to think about that ending in like that has a lot of dictation as to when deals are being closed. So we're still not up on that yet. Mid-April would be a better earmark with deals getting into contract and closing around the ending of school. So I would say the next 2 to 3 weeks, what comes on the market is being listed is going to be integral for what kind of spring we're going to have.
Hmm.
Now, I'm going to ask Joe, let me ask you a question. I mean, going back to the no rush in attorney review, um, and look, I'm still hearing multiple offers on all homes. Do you think the no rush is that just people are over this and they're like, well, if I lose it, I lose it, and they're giving them more time to think about whether they really want it because uh, it does seem like it's taking longer. I agree, and yet they've gone through multiple houses and multiple offers, so you would think there would still be a rush. What do you think?
Yeah, it's and that's a good qualifying statement. It's not that there's still not multiple offers on houses that still exists, especially in the right neighborhoods where inventory is low and accessibility to train lines and stuff to the city. So those areas are still valued. There's still it's not that there's not buyers for those areas, but for whatever reason, the buyers whose offer gets accepted, it's not like in and out of attorney review in 24 hours to 48 hours. I think a lot, Bob, can be said about that is the buyers are just being more calculated.
Hmm.
Maybe the type of market we have where we've phased out of that. I need this home or else.
Yep.
And you're right. I think when people have time to think, they're like, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. That is a lot of the attitude I'm seeing from the buyers. Um, but
I'm
to drive the point home again, it's not for lack of interest in these homes. They're still going over asking. There's still multiple offers. It's just not the rush to get in and out. I don't know.
Yep. What I've seen in the last couple of weeks with some of my clients is a lot of the houses that they're interested in and we put offers in on is that the sellers have to find a place to go. And I think a lot of the sellers are making mistakes of not having a game plan of an exit strategy out of the house. So it prolongs attorney review, it prolongs under contract. And then if there's any doubt with the buyer that is kind of like on the fence, did we make a right choice? Are we doing this right? And like you said earlier, Joe, like voices from other people's opinions start poking in, and then one hiccup in the transaction, and they're like, I'm out because they're still waiting on the seller to figure out where they're going next. I have seen
Yeah,
that.
It's been interesting because a few of my clients have gone to some open houses even last weekend. Lines at the door again in some of these open houses. But speaking with the agents, they only have a handful of offers, right? So the number of people that are going through that house is not equating to what it did a year ago, even 6 months ago, for that matter.
Hmm.
It's interesting.
I
People, my buyers too. Like my buyers are being more picky,
Yep.
right?
mm,
Like I have a few people that I'm working with right now that are very like, yeah, they have decent budgets, but they're going through and if they see more than one or two things that they just don't like, they're just going to pass on it.
Yep.
Whereas, last year this time, we'd be jumping all over that and waving everything still,
Yeah.
that's a very good point. The pickiness of the buyer, and even though New Jersey's insulated from like the world real estate news, I still think that influences the buyer's pickiness.
It does.
Because they hear things like, oh, it's not a seller's market anymore. So they have in their head that they have this ability to be picky, but it's not. It doesn't really correlate to where we're at. And I
Right.
think that is
Yeah.
causing a little bit of an
Right.
issue.
I've been sending all the comps like crazy to people because, I want people to see, because again, like when we have these buyer consultations, I say, listen, whatever news source you listen to, come to me with your questions after that because what happens in our market is very different than happens across the US. So you can't listen to just generalized US real estate news because it doesn't pertain to Morris County,
Hmm.
Yeah, correct.
especially if you're on the train lines. Like it definitely doesn't pertain anywhere along those train lines, So just keep an open mind. I'm going to show you the numbers. The numbers don't lie, so you can make an educated decision on what you want to do with your money.
Hmm.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jay,
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you said earlier. It's a different market in Florida. People in New Jersey are notorious for retiring to Florida.
Hmm.
How come we're not seeing more people cash out and buy in Florida? I mean, it's perfect time. It's selling high and buying low.
Hmm.
Do you think that people were so insulated in New Jersey that everyone thinks this market is everywhere else too?
No, I think, Liz, I think there's so much building in Florida right now that if the builders did slow down, it would be an absolute seller's market down here. But the builders are on full gas right now. We are, being down here now, I see a lot of people driving around to open houses and checking things out. They're just down here. I think they're a little bit pickier in regards to location in Florida, in regards to insurance, because insurance in Florida is a
Mhm.
big thing.
Tough.
Um, so I think a lot of the conversations in regards to buying something in Florida is, are we in a flood zone? How close are we to the coast? What is the insurance going to look like? How much risk are we willing to take? So I think a little bit more in regards to calculation of location where they're going to be is in big consideration. But I am seeing there, I mean, the demand is here. It's just the inventory is so high because builders are building like crazy down here.
Hmm.
And I do think, a couple months ago, we did see the rush of, large corporations saying like, hey, everyone back into the office. And I think there was a percentage that were going back into the office and needed to stay in the Northeast pocket. But those other companies that have the flexibility of still, working from home or working remotely, I do think we have a percentage of people that are shopping states at this point. They're basically looking at tax rates, income tax. They're state shopping now to figure out what's going to be the best bang for their buck. And I, it's just a combination of everything that's going on. But long story short, the building in Florida is, really consistent. I haven't seen the builders really take their foot off the gas down here whatsoever. And then in Florida, I mean, the property if property taxes disappear, I think
Yeah.
I think as that gets closer to a vote, I think we're going to see a big bump in buyers in Florida if the property taxes disappear in the next couple of months as
Yeah.
well.
You would think, right?
Yeah.
I'd
Um,
love to be one of them.
yeah.
But I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Somehow that's going to result in New Jersey increasing their property taxes.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I'll
It's like,
put,
oh, Florida's eliminating theirs, let's double ours.
Yeah.
yeah, I've been in my house for about 15 years now, and it's gone up every single year
Or,
without
or
fail.
or your electric bill or gas bill will go up a bajillion dollars.
Oh man,
It'll be
let's not even
fine.
talk about that. That's just it's crazy,
But you make
crazy.
a good point on the build. So like that's, I wouldn't say like building is it's like foot on the gas in Jersey, but compared to the last 2 years, the new construction deals, or at least they're a thing where they
Mhm.
weren't even factored into. Like nobody was. So like now like those deals are coming back into the fold. It's always a good sign. That can only all that can do is inject capital into the real estate
Yeah.
market. So that's one positive is that you have some of those deals which were vacant for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. What I did see from the last time about 6 to 8 months ago when I was down here is that some of these two bedroom, two bath little ranches were going for in the 300s. Now I'm seeing them in the 200s, mid to high twos. So and people are jumping on them. I mean, I'm in one of the complexes now, and I think we only have one unit left out of 15. So people are still purchasing, but like I said, the builders are done here. They're on to the next complex. Um, and that really, it's a good thing to have options, but it really hurts the resale value
Yeah.
of
Mm.
people in Florida.
It's like
So,
the opposite problem that we're having in Jersey, right?
Yeah.
yep.
Like they have the opposite of an inventory issue.
Yep. So a lot of people, a lot of people like in the Cape Coral area, and right outside of Fort Myers, that's probably one of the worst markets in the United States because they jumped. Cape Coral was a screaming hot market during COVID, and now a lot of those people bought so high. They're a little bit under the water on their mortgage, and they're trying to exit out right now.
Mm.
Um,
Problem.
so yeah, I mean there's just certain pockets. There's so many variables that go into play in any market, but in New Jersey, in the Northeast, I mean, the train lines, all those stuff are, like you said, Joe, are going to be super insulated to any market change for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you'd
Um,
think in New Jersey after this winter, there'd be more people who want to. I mean, this is a tough winter. I mean,
It
there's
was.
nobody that uh, will say it was a great winter, right? Like, oh, I loved it, right? Every year people say it's a tough winter, but this one was way tougher than we've had in
Yeah,
quite a
we
lot.
had a real winter for the first
Yeah,
time in probably over a decade.
yeah. So
Mhm.
you'd think
10 years, yeah.
there'd be
Yeah.
more people who were like, I'm ready. I'm
Yeah.
ready to get out of New Jersey and hit warmer
I
states.
still think though, Bob, that a lot of the problem, and you correct me if I'm wrong, like so many people are still stuck in those low rates from
Yep.
refinancing that
Yeah,
that's still holding a lot of people back.
Yep.
could
You
be.
know,
Yeah, yeah,
like I
Yeah.
mean that's one of the factors for me, right? Like I refinanced, during the whole craziness twice. I did a cash out
Yeah.
refi,
yep.
did some work on the house, then refinanced back to a 15 year, and I'm at like I don't know, like I'm less than 2.5%.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
And
makes it hard to, yeah.
Yeah,
well,
Yep.
it
I
does.
mean, so many people were bought I say this all the time. People bought their first homes thinking it was a 4 or 5 year plan, and once they had two, three kids, they would move to a bigger home, and it's hard to leave that rate. That's it.
Right.
It is.
I mean,
That sounds like my autobiography, Bob.
I'm talking to the people every day with the same discussion, and we,
Mhm.
we look at the numbers, and they're like, "Well, it's gonna be more than double what I'm paying now." Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's interesting too. Some of my buyers, like we will look at properties and in very desirable areas, and we multiple offer situations, and for example, we looked at a small 3 bedroom cape, cosmetically very nice, but I mean it was under, I mean right around 1,500 square feet, and the price that it was going for, and then the square footage. I mean there were 13 offers. We were in the middle of the pack, and we were, if we broke our offer price down per square foot, we were over $500 a square foot. That's insane. That is more than brand new construction
mhm.
in some areas. The thing is then the conversation with my clients is, okay, guys, like, hey, we this is top dollar, right? There's you can't cosmetically you can't do anything to the house to really increase the value. So the only thing we have to look at now is property size. Does the property have size, have enough setbacks to actually force appreciation or force force appreciation in regards to adding on? Can you add on
Mhm.
to this property to try to lower the price per square foot in the next couple of years? And the problem is in some of these areas, the property lines are so tight that there's no potential for expansion. So now you're sitting in a $1,500 square foot cape at $500+ per square foot. How long are you going to have to sit in that house to even break even on that sale? And if the market turns, it's just like it's really interesting. The conversation goes, yes, this is a great house, but then okay, we look outside the house and the property lines saying, okay, can I put an addition on down the road? And some of these property lines are so tight
Yeah.
that no. But
Yeah.
when I saw over $500 per square foot and it was in Cranford, I was like, insane,
Mm.
insane. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good point with these highly populated areas. You're kind of stifled in what you can do to try to add value to it. Bloomfield's kind of like that, and a lot of towns are where you can only go back 15 feet or 10 feet, and you're limited in what you could do to increase the value of the home. But
yeah,
you know,
Right.
these are all questions where nothing's gonna persuade every seller to sell. But if you have those sellers that are like have 1 foot out the door, small things will get that crop to at least
yep.
list and get out. It's not going to convince the person that's sitting there and it is not going to move unless there's massive swing in their interest rates. But
Hmm.
there's always little things in the market that can at least persuade 10% or 15% of those sellers to. So and that's really all we need. We don't really need 50% of sellers going on listing. It's need like 10%.
Right. Because then it would kill the market,
Yeah,
right? Like,
correct. We don't
Yeah.
we don't want another 2020, 2021 thing because as good as that is for 6 months, it creates massive waves of problems for years.
yep.
Yes.
And what's interesting too is like during COVID, um, but buyers didn't care, like in regards to like say Cranford, Garwood, um, Cranford Guard with some a little bit of Westfield, but like there's a good pocket of portions of homes in that area that are in flood zones. During COVID, they didn't care.
Mm,
Now I'm seeing homes that are in flood zones. The buyers are pausing. They're like, hey, we'll ride this out and we'll find something else. They're not jumping on grenades as much now. Um,
100% of my buyers will not buy in a flood zone right now.
yep,
They won't
mm,
even look at the house. They ask me every single time, "Hey, flood zone? Yes." Don't even. They're not going to even waste their time.
exactly. It
So
so
that's a good point, Jake. It's changed drastically where people were just doing whatever they could to get a house. They didn't give
yep,
a shit. They're like, let's go. Now there's a pause.
yep. So they're not jumping on grenades. They're not just biting every taking
No.
bullets, but they're hungry, but they're not super anxious. They're not going to take that risk.
That's
Yep.
interesting. Look, I mean, at some point the market's going to change. It happens.
Hmm.
Always something will happen. The market's always, it can't be the same market forever. And when
No.
it does, some of these houses like that were in flood zones by power lines, the ones that were always hard to sell will become hard to sell again. It'll be
Hmm.
interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that now. And then if interest rates do tick down and the market does, sellers do feel that little relief and say, okay, it's time to go. I think all those power lines, flood zones, double yellow lines, busy roads, like those houses sitting, they're going to sit a little bit longer
mm,
Okay.
for sure.
And that's an important conversation we have with our buyers too. When we're going to the show houses, like, listen, guys, like, just so you know,
Mhm.
like you'll have to look at every purchase as an investment. And we said that we've always been saying that,
Yeah.
from day one. But some people just didn't care. They're so desperate to get a house,
Mhm.
and I would give them that warning. Like, listen, if you're not going to be here for 10 to 15 years, this might not be a smart decision because when you go to sell it, the market is going to be changed. We don't know where it's going to be. And again, those houses, flood zones, power lines, businesses across the street, whatever it might be, it's gonna be a deterrent for other buyers in the future.
Mhm. Yeah. But yeah, interesting times.
Yeah.
Interesting
Always.
times. Anything else you guys want to add today?
I
Not all
think
at
we're
once.
No, I
I think
think I
ultimately, like, go ahead,
go
Jeff.
ahead,
Sorry.
Joe. No, go ahead, Joe.
I think the next 2 to 3 weeks, like the next market talk we have, will be an interesting one because that's essentially going to set the tone for the next 3 months. I think. Um,
Yeah.
I'm still kind of bullish on the fact that we're going to have a strong spring market, but I'll be proven right or wrong, I guess, in 30 days.
Yeah,
I,
that's what I was going to say, Joe. I agree. I agree with that, though. I still think we're going to have a spring market, like a real spring market really for the first time in a while. I just don't think it's going to be as extreme as I initially anticipated
Yeah.
because of what's going on in the world.
yep.
Right.
It definitely gave a pause to some people,
Hmm.
but I still have, a ton of buyers I'm working with. I have a bunch
Yeah.
of listings coming on, so things are going to be happening. And talking to my friends in the industry, they all have similar stories.
Hmm.
So,
No, there's still a lot of buyers out there.
oh
Yep.
yeah, there's a
I think
ton.
it's going to be a good spring market.
Well, and the
Um,
hard thing is now too, Bob, like I'm sure you see it on your end, like, the first time home buyers, they're priced out of the market in so
yeah.
many
Yeah.
places.
Mm.
That's what I have a problem with because again, like having three kids, my oldest is going to be going to college next year. Housing is going to be an issue in a few years down the road after that. What's going to look like for her to try to get her first place someday down the road? A
No,
starter home
it's
used to be in
tough.
the twos and threes, and the starter home now is in the fives or sixes.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
That
Yep.
I
gap
mean,
is that gap's only going to get wider, right, Bob? Like the amount of individuals owning a home, the age is just going to keep going up, I would think.
going up. It's going to keep going up. Well, two things. One, um, kids like to stay home longer these days. So I talk to parents all the time whose kids are in their mid to late 20s and happily living home. No, they're not in any rush to get out. So
Slackers.
yeah, I think that
Mhm.
the first time home buyer will be older, but they're
Yep.
saving a little more money. They're smart. They're staying home. They're saving money. And after they've been there till late 20s, uh, mom and dad want to help them get out.
Hmm.
We're seeing a lot of that too.
Get out. I agree that will be a Northeast thing, but I think it's going to be more state specific because for example, I ran into a young guy yesterday. He was from Missouri. He's like, He's like, yeah, I bought a house when I was younger in Missouri, and then he works remote. He's like, I sold the house in Missouri, and he goes, I bought a condo in Florida. He goes, I made a ton of money on my house in Missouri, and now I basically own this thing outright. And it's, I think it has to do with location. That's why I think younger people are state shopping, and I also think it also depends on whether or not they're remote or not. And I still think remote is going to keep growing. Obviously, we saw the push and get back into the office, but I do think remote with AI and everything happening, I do think we're going to still see a push for, flexibility in location of work. So,
Mhm.
we'll see. I mean, a lot of things happening for sure.
It's
Uh,
Yeah.
always fun.
Always
always.
interesting, right?
It is.
Hmm.
But all right, guys. Well, I'm going to go enjoy the Florida weather for a little
Enjoy.
bit longer. And but yeah, anything else you guys want to add before we jump off here?
No, I think I'm just gonna go enjoy the New Jersey weather a little bit.
It's a nice. It's sunny and 30 today, so
Yes.
Uh, that's great.
Great stuff.
That sounds amazing, guys. Um, but awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to the next one.
Good seeing you guys. Thanks.
Take care,
Until
guys.
Take care,
next
guys.
time. Take care.